having, if you will, just a national primary with ads going on TV and people voting, never having met the person who's running for president. So help me in Ames, or whoever else you'd like to support there. Come to Ames, make sure that you're part of the process so that the Iowa process continues to have such an important impact on the selection of the nominee for our party. Now, I'm happy to be back in a very famous county, of course, and happy to be with you. I see this as a very important time for our country. And my guess is, if you've been to one of these before, you've heard that before. Some of you who've been around politics for a long time remember that almost everybody running for office thinks their time is the most critical time ever. And there probably have been pretty critical times in the history of our country. But right now there's a convergence of things that have made this a particularly unusual time in our nation's history. And in my view, America is going to change course in some way. We just can't keep doing things the way we've been doing them in Washington. We're going to have change. People aren't happy with the president right now, as you look at the national polls, and they're even less happy with Congress. So it's not like someone's got all the answers. They want a change in direction. People want different answers, and they want results. They want things to happen. They're tired of all the talk and all the rhetoric without action. I spent my life in the private sector. I'm not a guy who's been in politics all his life. I spent my life in small business that became big business, and then I went off and ran the Olympics, as you may know, and great experience doing that. And then I got involved in politics for 4 years, helping as the governor of Massachusetts to get the job done there. And I've learned in the private sector, talk is cheap. There are people who come in and talk a good game, and you either hire them or you invest in them, and then they don't get the job done, and you fire them. Because talk is worth nothing in the private sector. But in politics, some people get by just talking and talking and talking and don't get anything done. That's not me. The reason I'm running for office is because I can get the job done. And the course America takes, if I'm president, will be a course that will make us a stronger nation, preserve our values, and help us have a bright future for our kids and our grandkids. Now, I talked about a change of course. You had John Edwards here yesterday in the county, and I guess in this very building. And the course he would take is a very different course. The same thing with Hillary Clinton and the same thing with Barack Obama. They would take America, in my view, in a sharp left turn. I think they take their inspiration from, in some respects, from the philosophies of Europe of the past, which is that big government and big brother and big taxes are good. And that if you want to have a better America, you just take more of Americans' money so that government can be bigger. And that's what John Edwards talked about yesterday, his tax program, which includes probably the largest tax increase in the history of the country. Oh, he has a special savings program. I understand you can save $250 tax-free. That's going to get you a lot instead of retirement, and college tuition, for a day, maybe a new bike. That's not a savings plan in my view. Their view is raise taxes, build government, and that is not the right approach for America. As a matter of fact, their approach is so government-centric that when you look at our approach, it stands out in pretty stark relief. Republicans look back to the Declaration of Independence and take inspiration from it, where those who framed that declaration wrote that God endowed men and women with certain inalienable rights. The idea was we not only threw off the bonds of Great Britain, we reordered the relationship between government and people. In the past, the king was on top, government was on top, and the people were the servants. And with the Declaration, Thomas Jefferson said, no, the people are on top, and the government is the servant. And I want to make sure it stays that way. Now, I could talk about that contrast as we look at a number of things. Look, for instance, at taxation. You saw, I mentioned what John Edwards suggested yesterday. Hillary Clinton has been speaking about her view of our economy. She says that we've always been an on-your-own society. Yeah, that's right, with individual initiative, individual incentives, believing in Adam Smith that as we each pursue our own dreams, that makes a better nation. Yeah, we've been an on-your-own society. She says she wants to change that to a shared responsibility, we're all in it together society. So out with Adam Smith and in with Karl Marx. I don't think her platform would allow her to get elected president of France today, let alone president of the United States. I believe that our policies of individual incentives, keeping taxes down and government small, keep America strong. There are other differences. Look at health care. We have problems in our health care system. We have 45 million people that don't have health insurance. It's not good for them. It's not good for you. It's not good for them because when they get sick, they don't have a primary care physician to go to. They don't get the regular care they ought to have. They go to the emergency room. It's not good for you because guess who pays for them when they're in the emergency room? You do. And so the Democrats say, well, if you got a problem like that, government better take over health care. The last thing we need is socialized medicine. It's not working over there in Europe. It's not going to work here. We don't want Hillary care. We don't want a government takeover of health care. I found in my state that Republicans are wise not to put up a white flag and say we can't deal with health care. No, we're wise to dig in with our principles. Believing in a private market, believing in personal responsibility, we got everybody on track to get insurance in Massachusetts. Private insurance, not government. No new taxes required, no government takeover. There's a Republican way of getting the job done that relies on individuals and individual initiative and private markets, and there's a Democrat way, which relies on government. Maybe the contrast is most stark as it looks to something like the war against violent jihad. As you know, America faces an unusual threat, which is there is in the world today a group of people in the Muslim world who are intent on causing the collapse of moderate Islamic nations and people. They want to replace them with a religious caliphate. They want to cause our collapse, the collapse of civilization as we know it. They hate our values. Against that, John Edwards stands up and says there's no war on terror. It's just a Bush bumper sticker. Just a Bush bumper sticker. Think about that. Tell that to the people in Indonesia, Malaysia, in Pakistan, in Israel, in Tanzania, in Kenya, in Nigeria. Tell that to the people in Thailand, and the people in Spain and England, and then, of course, in New York City and Washington, D.C. There is a war being waged by the terrorists, and the Democrats need to understand that if you have a president who cares about our future, there will be a war waged on the terrorists. I'd also note with interest the comments by Barack Obama. Did you hear what he had to say at that Democrat debate? The CNN YouTube debate. It's an unusual debate, by the way. I'm not sure I'm excited about having to answer questions from a snowman. But in this case, he was asked about his first year in office. I've given a little thought to that. One of the things I'd like to do if I'm lucky enough to be president is to meet with some of the key leaders of the world that are our friends and make sure we have strong relationships and they know me and I know them. I'd like to meet with key leaders in Latin America. I think we've ignored Latin America in some respects too long. I want to meet with our key friends in Europe and Africa and people in Asia. All over the world we have many, many friends. Barack Obama indicated who he wants to meet with in his first year. He's going to meet with Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez. And he's going to meet with Ahmadinejad and the president of Syria. These are the people he's going to meet with and bestow the dignity of a visit from the President of the United States on people who are, without question, terrorists and dictators. These are tyrants, rather, and dictators. And I find his choice to be particularly ill-advised. So there's a different direction we're going to take if we have a Republican than a Democrat. And I see someone has given me a stool up here to sit on. And I know it's actually not to sit on, it's to look at. And the reason for that is that I believe that the future of America rests on a three-legged stool in some respects, with our values being held high for the entire world based upon three legs of a stool. One, a strong military. Two, a strong economy. And three, strong families and family values. And I know there's some in our party that say, oh no, you don't need all three legs of those stools, that stool. Just one or two will do. But you know what happens if you take off one leg of a stool? Well, that scared you, didn't it? One leg of a stool, it falls down. And I believe, in fact, that for the Republican Party to win the presidency, we do have to have all three legs of that stool. First, a strong military. I think we have to add about 100,000 men and women to the active duty personnel in our military. And I think we're going to also have to spend more money in our military to make sure that our soldiers have the equipment they need in the battlefield and they get the care they deserve when they come home. Strong economy. I think you make sure we keep a strong economy by holding down taxes, not raising taxes like Democrats would do, and also by getting us energy independent. It does not make sense to me that we send $1 billion a day outside this country to go to other countries to buy oil from them. We could be energy independent and we should get on track to do that.